Aloha, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. So this time I'm bringing you a 3,000 point game between my Dark Elves and an opponent's Skaven. So this is what my deployment looks like before we get on to his side. Starting on the right we have the Dark Riders, the Doomfire Warlocks, and the Hydra. Then we have my 28 Witches with the Cauldron. Next to that will be the Executioners, the Chariot, behind which is the General, the Spearmen, the Chariot, and then 2 units of Dark Riders running out the left flank. Okay, and this is what I have to look across at. So here are the Skaven, and let's see, starting on the left we have a large unit of clan rats, a rat dart, a mortar, and a plague catapult. Next to that, going down the line, will be a unit of slaves, a unit of Giselles, a unit of slaves, and then in front are a rat dart and a warlock. And then in the backfield we have 2 warp fire cannons, and then a BSB you can see here, a doom wheel, a rat dart, a doom wheel, a large unit of clan rats with a general, a mortar, and in the building we have another unit of Giselles. Then I go ahead and scout the shades forward, and I move both my left and right flank fast cav. Okay, so as far as some pre-game strategy is concerned, what I'm thinking is really jetting out the spearmen to really catch those doom wheels. I don't need those doom wheels getting into more important things, and I believe the spearmen can hold them up for a bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to take my executioners. They're in the center currently. I'm going to swing them right, probably assist the spearmen and taking care of those doom wheels, but their real goal is to get engaged with the general and his clan rat unit. As far as the left flank is concerned, I have full confidence that my witches can handle anything over there, so I'm just going to push them forward. I'm also going to place an assassin in the shades and go for an assassination run on the Gracier if I can. Then finally on the flanks, I'm going to take my right side fast cav, swing them left, and then use the 3 Dark Rider units to create kind of a crack within the battle line near the slaves and try to shoot my Doomfire Warlocks into the backfield. So there we go. Of course, my game plan always depends on going first, and I don't get it. So the Skaven get first turn, and he declares a charge with his rat dart in my shades and with his slaves, and I just stand and shoot at the rat dart, and of course this is all that gets in. And then the doom wheels move up faster than I anticipated, so that's really bad. The bell pushes forward, and then this is what the board looks like at the end of his movement phase, and we jump into magic. Now I'm going to try really hard to protect my left flank fast cav. He's looking to get rid of them. So I do stop the first couple spells, but he does have a dice advantage on me, so I'm not going to be able to stop the last spell, which is Scorch, and he places it, and he's able to hit 2 units with it, and I do take some damage, as you can see, and unfortunately both units break, so that's not a very good start. Thankfully, both of his, or all his war machines kind of underperform. His warp lightning cannons don't misfire, they just fall short on their targets. They fizzle out before they get there. And then, as you can see in this picture, only 2 executioners are killed by the catapult. Alright, so a combination of sniper shots and this doom wheel will reduce this unit to 1, and he will break and not recover. So I'm going to go ahead and add the points for him in the next tally up. This doom wheel misfires and wanders over to the left, and this combat goes as expected. Alright, so here's a look at the board at the end of Skaven turn 1. We go on my turn and I declare a charge of the assassin only into the Gracier Bell. I figure if I'm going to take this risk and I fully accept that whatever gets in this will not come out, I might as well just do the assassin. Meanwhile, I charge the executioners into the doom wheel and it flees. And then finally, I have the Dark Riders and the 2 chariots charge this Doom Wheel, but unfortunately, only this unit of Dark Riders makes it, so they're probably dead. Then finally, I had this last unit, Dark Riders, fails to rally and they continue to flee, and that pretty much spells the end of my strategy with Dark Riders trying to create a little crack in the battle line. Alright, so the rest of the movement phase looks like so, with the Hydra and Witches moving forward. And then the magic phase, I'm going to try to cast Fury of Cain just to try to get him to use some Dispel dice. He's not going to fall for it, so my Assassin is going to be supported with Fury of Cain. And then I'm going to try to cast Enfeebling Foe and fail at it. And then Soul Blight doesn't matter, he dispels it. We go in the shooting phase, I kill one Giselle off, and they don't panic. And then the Doom Wheel, even though it's not Hex or anything, just kind of sucks it up and only kills one Dark Rider. Alright, so over here we have my assassin going to assassinate the Greyseer. He of course offers a challenge of this champion. I'm forced to accept. We get into combat. I'm able to kill him with some overkill, but I still lose combat because of all the bonuses, and I stick. So also, if you notice here, there's a little statue. That's an Altar of Cain, and that will impact a couple things. The altar forces this Rat Pack to charge my witches, and also make this slave unit charge my shades in the flank. In the rest of the movement, 2 units of Gutter Runners show up, and then this is what the board looks like as we push forward. And another overview of the board before we jump into the magic phase. When we jump into the magic phase, I happen to roll 2 6s for channeling, which gives me a good even score. I'm able to stop Scare Leap, but unfortunately it rolls really high for Plague, and I go ahead and use my Dispel Scroll, so it's kind of a waste. And then of course in the shooting phase, the Doom Wheel does what the Doom Wheel does. The Warp Lightning Cannons open up and fire at my level 4. The first one falls short. The second one does clip the level 4, some Spearmen, and the Chariot. The Chariot isn't wounded. The Sorceress either makes her ward save or Lookout Sir, and then 2 of the Spearmen die. Then over here, the Gutter Runners put 2 wounds on my Chariot. The Doom Wheel ends up killing the last of the Horsemen. And then in combat, my Shades have the Altar of Cain affecting them, and they have extra close combat weapons, and I'm just able to do a ton of wounds and actually win this combat, so that's great. He does kill some in return. And then in the other combat, with the Assassin, he again forces me into a challenge, and I'm just unable to wound the stupid Warlock, and he's not able to do anything back, and I passed my break check. And then finally, the last thing I do in my end of turn is fight this combat here with the Rat Dart, easily win, and turn to face. Alright, so here we go into Dark Elf turn 2, and I make a pretty big mistake here, especially when we consider, I have a strategy that I was supposed to follow throughout the game. And that strategy is, of course, the Spearmen are going to move forward, I'm going to advance with them, I'm going to try to catch that Doom Wheel, and I'm going to assist and support with my Executioners, hopefully eventually getting them into that General's unit. Of course, I could develop a series of tacticas, exploring my strategic philosophy, which would pretty much boil down to develop a strategy, and then maybe before mid-game, well, definitely before mid-game, just completely abandon it, just so you can kill things. And that's what happens here. I have an opportunity to kill things, which is the slaves. My Executioners are in perfect position to charge them in the rear, which is just, tempting in a small-mindedness type of way. And so that's what I do. And unfortunately, I'm going to charge in there, and I'm definitely going to kill them. And because the Altar of Cain's there, it's going to help me further compound my blunder by allowing me to move further to the left rather than turning around and assisting on the right. So there you have it. If you want to become a better player, there's some free strategic insight for you. Meanwhile, I do what I was going to do with the Spearman, and I catch a Doom Wheel, which is great. I support it with a Chariot. And then over here, my Witches and Hydra pile in and help out the Assassin. Okay, and so although there was a series of circumstances that prevented my Dark Riders from creating that hole I needed, the Shades did happen to do that for me, so my Doomfire Warlocks are really going to take the opportunity to squeeze through here to get in that backfield, and now I'm going to go into Magic. My Magic phase is a mixed bag of extremes. I go for a decoy spell trying to just bleed some Dispel dice. It goes off irresistibly. I then go for a spell that I'm really trying to get off to help out my Doom Wheel combat, and I fail it. So I go just throw 6 dice at something big, and I get it off. Unfortunately, it's a big loss with minimal gain. In my combats, the Assassin's able to finish off the Warlock, and then the combat overall is a big thrashing with very minimal losses from the Dark Elves. But unfortunately, even though I do some wounds to the Gray Seer and the Bell, it doesn't break because it can't. And then over here we have the Executioners really doing their number, exploding the rats, which takes care of my shades and does a couple of superficial wounds to the units around it. The chariot blows the rat dart and hits the doom wheel. The other doom wheel is overwhelmed with all the combat res generated from the chariot in the ranks and breaks but gets away. This is what the board looks like at the end of turn, and we jump into Skaven turn 3, where we have his large unit with a general charge my spearmen. Alright, otherwise we have the Gutter Runners charge my Dark Riders, and then we go into the regular movements, and this guy does not rally, he runs off the board. He aggressively moves his BSB to try to corner my general, and we jump into the magic phase. Now he's been trying to get Skitter Leap off. I know he has something nasty, so I've been stopping it. I continue to stop it, but as a consequence he's able to get off Plague. So Plague really does a number on my Executioner unit, as you can see in this little pick. And then we go in the shooting phase, and the Doom Wheel does what the Doom Wheel does. The other chariot gets destroyed by the Giselles in the tower, and then some more Giselles takes shots at my Sorcerer and is able to wound her once. Over here between the Clan Rats and the Dread Spears, my Dread Spears lose a real close one. I'm able to put 2 wounds on the Bonebreaker, but again it is a close loss, and so I'm able to pass my break check even though I don't have a BSB nearby. And then we go over to this combat, and the Dark Riders get punked by the Gutter Runners, but my opponent probably makes a slight mistake here and decides not to try to run them down. And then finally the Hydra, the Witches, and the Assassin are able to do a ton of wounds to the Clan Rats, finish off the Grey Seer, and destroy that Bell. So finally that's too much and they break. Alright, so we go to Dark Elf turn 3, and it's all about re-engaging on the right. I've pretty much crushed the left flank. I just need to escort some units off the board. My magic phase really doesn't give me anything to work with, so I'm just going to turn the rest of my army to the right and try to help out that last combat. So we go over to the last combat. I just barely lose, and I'm just barely able to pass my break check. Alright, so we have the Doom Wheel intercept my Executioners. These Clan Rats will not rally and they run off the board. And then we have the last wizard over here trying to cast Skitter Leap when he goes into the magic phase. Now, I've been stopping that pretty effectively because I know he has the Brass Orb, he wants to assassinate something. But I'm just now turning my army around, and I don't need Death Frenzy helping out in the combat with the Spearmen. So he does get the Skitter Leap off because I let it get off. And then he shoots a Warp Lightning Cannon through this unit, wounds the Cauldron twice, and then he fails to do anything with that Brass Orb. Alright, so despite the fact that I did stop Death Frenzy, I did lose this combat again, and I was unable to hold. I break, and he runs me down. Now, I can't get too mad about this situation because they're actually holding up. They actually held up a lot longer than I expected to, especially when they were unsupported. And they did. I mean, I could have saved these points had I not done the stupid mistake I did with the Executioners, but thankfully they did hold long enough that I at least am now facing the right direction and in striking distance. But on a more positive note, my Executioners get in combat with this Doom Wheel, and I'm able to destroy it, and I reform facing his BSB. And so I take this as an opportunity to charge his BSB. My opponent flees and he runs really high, so I redirect into the Clan Rats, and hopefully that will go well for me, but I am running out of guys. Over here the Assassin tries to charge the Catapult but fails, and then the Hydra just moves into the forest to get a charge later. Alright, so I move my Cauldron and the Sorceress like so before we go into the Magic phase. And in the Magic phase it ends up being surprisingly successful despite the fact that it was a really close generation in dice. And so I'm able to really help out in that combat I have. Those Dark Riders that he didn't run down end up rallying some other turn ago and then try to go for an assassination run here on the Warlock but fail. And then finally we go into that combat, and because I have so many of those hexes on this unit, he doesn't move his character to get in combat because he doesn't want it to die, I guess. And I end up winning and defeating him pretty well, but he folds and reforms into Horde. So we go into Skaven turn 5, he rallies with his BSB, so that's good for him. We go into the magic phase, and he's only really focused on getting rid of that enfeebling foe. So we go into the shooting phase, the Warp Lightning Cannons open up on the Cauldron. One of them blows up, the other one does hit the Cauldron, but I ward save it. But unfortunately, the Rider eats it. But, you know, not too bad. And though Inferior Foe is no longer supporting this combat, Miasma is very helpful and able to win this combat again. In Dark Elf turn 5, we have the Assassin make it into the combat with the Catapult. The Hydra easily gets in combat with the Cannon. The Witches turn around and get closer to make a support charge in turn 6. And then we go to the Magic phase, where I generate a low amount of dice, which in my opinion is always good because it guarantees me a spell most times. In this case, it mirrors that same expectation. The Hydra eats the Cannon. And then the assassin gets to add another name to the list of inferior targets that end up killing him. Now, in defense of my assassin, he does kill BSBs and combat lords, you know, pretty regularly, but he also pretty regularly dies to pathetic things like Noblars, horses, and now the last remaining crew member of a catapult. So it's funny. Finally, in this last combat, the hexes really helped me survive this attrition here. Without it, the Skaven clan rats would bring my executioners down. I know they are better than clan rats, but just the amount of attacks will kill them. So here's an overview of the board, and just look how desolate it looks compared to what we started out with. It's a testament to how bloody this battle is. And so let's just go in for a closer look to see what happens. So going into turn 6, my opponent doesn't really have a lot of units he wants to bring into combat, so he's going to go ahead and start to shoot up my witches, and that's exactly what he does. All these units start to take aim and unload, and he actually does quite a few wounds, just not enough to get the points for them. So as you can see here, I do lose quite a few, and then finally we go into combat, and I just, because of the hexes, I withstand another round, and we'll see. I think I lose this, but I don't break. Alright, here we are in turn 6, and I could really lose this turn if I don't get these executioners some support. I did lose last turn, and I only passed my leadership check because I had the reroll. So I throw my culture in there purely because it has Swift Stride. I didn't want to take the whole unit in there. There's a chance I could fail it, and I felt 3 dice is better than 2. So that's exactly what I do. The impact hits help me put me over the edge. He breaks. He is steadfast, but he still breaks, and that pretty much calls it. So let's see what the final total is. Alright, and with that, it's a Dark Elf victory, and this is what the board looks like at the end of the game. So it was a pretty close game. I think that last combat swung it wildly, so the points don't really reflect that, but it was very close and very fun to play. So as far as what I did wrong in the game, I think I've already touched on it. I really think I should not have allowed my executioners to go to the left. I should have kept on with the plan and truck it to the right. But, you know, at the end of the day, I was able to do a couple of things that helped me get out of that pretty bad decision that I found myself in. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for your comments, your likes, and your subscriptions, and I'll see you guys next time.